With Deltarune Chapter 5 coming out, and here's some cherry-picked memes and an even more cherry-picked look at global fandom that I, as someone who doesn't speak any of these languages, has tried my best to translate and explain. Like, did you know that the most popular Deltarune theory of the Chapter 3 and 4 era is completely in Russian? This sprawling 2.5-hour video by Endtime has over 2 million views, which laps every other analysis or theory on the platform. And honestly, I think if I knew Russian, I would understand it less. The video is more so a compilation of multiple pre-existing theories, and it starts off pretty normal. You know, friend is Mike, death is the night, Gasser is green, and then it starts to derail.
Ivy Mike.
Oh. Okay, so the theory suggests that Image Friend's full name is Ivy Mike, and they have a nuclear bomb because America named a nuclear bomb Ivy Mike back in 1952, and ivy plants have roots, just like Flowey, who is a plant who also drops nuclear bombs as part of their attacks, which is why there's a bunker in Hometown, because Green Gaster plans to drop the Ivy Mike nuke on Hometown, and the last panel of the prophecy that the player couldn't see relates to Susie destroying Hometown, so Green Gaster will manipulate Susie into dropping the nuke on Hometown. What? This is 2 hours into the video, and then Endtime just moves on as if nothing happened. The video's reception was positive, but very ironic, because how are you supposed to just move on from Green Gaster will nuke Hometown? What are you talking about? Toby Fox saw this video, went to the balcony, lit up a cigarette, and sat there, deep in thought. Yeah, deep in thought about jumping off the balcony. Endtime occasionally uses the word dahagjaga for goners, which is a very literal translation, instead of the more commonly used
Gonyer.
Huh? Okay, I'm 95% sure this is just a transliteration of goner, and it's pronounced like gonyer or something like that. I don't know, can you tell I can't speak Russian? So hundreds of Green Gas and Nuke memes came out of the woodworks, and he's green, so he's WhatsApp Gaster now too, and I don't know, maybe that's like the origin of the garbage noise sounds. He's like on 3G and can't get reception. I don't know, but that explains these memes. If we are talking about the biggest Deltarune fandom event in the Chapter 3 and 4 era, we have to talk about W Place. You can't go a mile on this site's map without seeing a Deltarune sprite, which in the site's heyday became a source of frustration for some non-Deltarune fans. There were cases of Deltarune fans e-graffitiing over other art, leading to false flags where people pretended to be Deltarune fans and graffitied over other art to stoke hatred against Deltarune fans. This culminated in the unintentionally funniest comic of the Chapter 3 and 4 era. Can Western fan stop 30-06? Ara, this perfect shoot. What does that mean? But you have to know your enemy. Spamton's biggest haters are Deltarune's biggest fans, so Delta Westerners saw this comic and asked the artist to keep drawing Spamton getting tortured. The reason I bring this all up in this section is W Place is Brazilian, and from what I remember, most of the initial Deltarune art was initiated by Brazilians. So even though this comic laments Delta Western fans because the artist doesn't like seeing Deltarune sprites on this one website, they probably had more of an issue with Delta Brazilian fans who actually started the wave. Fittingly, there are a lot of artists and animators from Brazil. Here's a drawing of Chris that went viral wearing a local school uniform. I mean, because it's Brazil, everyone was arguing about what football team Chris would support. I came across a couple pictures of Susie in a Vitória jersey, a team in Brazil's top football league. I have no clue why this team, but these are two separate artists, so it's a coincidence I'm now bought into. This picture in particular is a meme format referencing this video, where the guy speaking sarcastically grieves his rival team's loss.
Eu fico muito triste com a notícia dessas! Eu fico muito triste com a notícia dessas, filho da puta! Caralho!
So this phrase
Eu fico muito triste com a notícia dessas!
translates to, I'm sorry to hear this news, but its English equivalent would be rip bozo. Without sounding like that one Stavros joke about how other cultures boast about doing something 80% of other cultures do, just from my own experience and talking to friends from different backgrounds or with South American families, TV and TV programming is just a slightly bigger deal in some countries, and Brazil is one of those countries. That helps explain this Sivagana-esque rip. TV Globo is a Brazilian-based television network, and it's the biggest network across all of Latin America, so this is both really funny and really ghoulish.
Pergunta valendo 40 mil, o que é uma piroca? Não, Mari!
This animation references an outtake on Brazil's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire,
Pergunta valendo 40 mil, o que é uma piroca? Não, Mari!
where the host meant to say pirog, but accidentally says piroca, which means penis. Here's what Jevil sounds like in the Korean fan translation.
한국말이야, 대박!
This isn't from the chapter 3 or 4 era, I just find it funny. There's this cute animation of Tenna feeding a cat-mouse hybrid Spamton,
자, 겁나서, 오이씨, 이뭐 새끼지고 뭐.
referencing this video.
야는 펀치를 날리는 고양이, 야는 펀치 안 날리는 고양인데 기다려봐.
This guy is a wildlife YouTuber and has run into these cats before, so he's just describing the cat's behavior before they act out, as they've acted out before. And going back to the fan translation, Korean Deltarune fans somehow still captured the spirit of Jackenstein. Jackenstein says, which roughly translates to, this is taking forever, and then says, which roughly translates to, you're caught now. But my first thought regarding international reception playing through chapter 4 was, what does China think about the Gui enemy? The Gui enemy gets their name from the pinyin for Gui, which means ghost, and the Gui is shaped like this character too, so you have a ghost shaped like the word for ghost that says ghost, like a Pokemon. Like, not even that. It'd be like if an unknown's cry was their own letter. A. Because of this, Chinese audiences found the enemy more funny than anything else.
鬼，什么玩意儿？魔鬼训练，驱鬼训，魔鬼训练，笑死了。
And the biggest discourse around Gui was how they'd localize it. Like, would they use another language or translate it back into English or something else? Currently, the Chinese fan translation for Deltarune keeps character names in English, so the Gui is just Gui. Okay, so I actually lied. As I was editing, I just went and double checked, and the most current version of the Chinese fan translation patch does use the character for Ghost for the Gui enemy. I found a niche Chinese theory on Baidu that's the equivalent of every theory relating to Friend Inside Me. So ChineseRap.mp3 is more well known in China than in the West. If you don't know what that is, that's a whole rabbit hole in of itself, but basically Toby Fox released a song with a Chinese text-to-speech rap back on his Tumblr in 2011.
我的专业是环境科学。如果我是个云，霜上加雪，我从来没有穿过裤子。
This netizen ironically theorizes that ChineseRap.mp3 is from the perspective of Spamton and alludes to the weird route. 10 years before Chapter 2 came out, and when the song is very explicitly about Toby Fox himself. So they unanimously got laughed at the app and got compared to the Green Pippins in the mic room. There's a ton of Chinese equivalents to YouTube poops. This one uses clips from Xiaomin, who's a popular Minecraft YouTuber. These ones reference a popular Chinese meme where this guy with the world's most vascular neck made a song about how mobile phones are bad. That he recorded with a mobile phone. I don't I don't get this either. Lolcows as a concept seems so spiritually American to me, and I mean that in the worst way possible. I'm not elaborating on this, but I think most people get what I'm saying. So I was surprised to find out that China has lolcows too, and they are brutal. This is Yangsha, and because like everybody noteworthy has a nickname in China, he's known as Big Stomach Bag. He's basically Nikocado Avocado, and they just hate this guy, man. He's been edited as king here.
爸爸，你肚子真大呀！
爸爸没有肚子，这是喂带。
And here. And here. And I mean, they got the shape right. Billy is just a gold mine for Deltarune content. I think if I were to actually research like even 20% of the stuff that's on this site, would be here until chapter 6. The Askel running over Des meme is, according to YouTube, the biggest video to have come out of the game. This meme has been subbed and dubbed into so many languages, but the Chinese one's the best.
但你不知道，我刚拔油家，我要把那喷泉碾压，把它碾成渣，用这山云皮卡，彻底把你扼杀。闯 Here we go!
Okay, the Spanish ones are pretty good too. Siempre me pregunté por qué no él I should have just used text-to-speech for all of this, man. I don't know why I'm trying. Why did Noelle go to a public school when she's a millionaire? How do you know it was a public school? Because Susie went there. Come on, don't lie. You've never done this. Pfft, of course I have. I could even do tricks. Seriously? Show me, dude. Yes, Chris. Show us your tricks. Mom, this is the second floor. How'd you— That is the last thing you should be worrying about right now, Chris. Man, I'm such a good friend. There's also like a whole subgenre of Latin American MS Paint shitpost comics, and there's accounts dedicated to making them just for Deltarune. That's another rabbit hole, and if I were to go through these, the video would come out after chapter 7. Jackenstein low-key works better in Spanish than English. Long and largo have the same meanings. And then because you is tu in Spanish, you get. And I didn't want to cover any controversies in this video, but I mean this one speaks for itself, and it's pretty funny. Alright, let's take a look at Japanese Twitter. Deltarune's Japanese localization adapts jokes and dialogue to the language. Words like daisuki and des get replaced in Spamton's dialogue with daisuki and death to capture the same manic energy you get in the English version.
はい、皆さん、こんにちは。私です。みんな大好き。ナンバーワン、フェルスマフィキキュナナ。スパムトンです。
Jackenstein's You're Taking Too Long becomes. And then your tutu becomes. Which means too cute. A lot of Japanese speakers found this line in chapter 1 funny. In English, this line is, you know, rectangles? They're like messed up squares? The translation is pretty faithful to the message, but the word and script choices change the tone. The sentences use a mixture of informal language like yatsu to refer to the rectangle, and instead of calling the rectangle messed up, Ralsei calls it a failed edition of a square. So it's pretty harsh and surgical compared to the rest of the dialogue and, I mean, Ralsei's whole character. On the 27th of March last year, Masahiro Sakurai ominously retweeted an announcement for a Nintendo Direct with, News outlets immediately picked up on this and wrote article after article, so Sakurai wrote, I can't even carelessly tweet. Toby Fox responded in the thread saying, friends whose tweets get overanalyzed. The Nintendo Direct passed, but the very next Direct, just a week later, included reveals for Kirby Air Riders and Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4. Naturally, there was some discourse. Words you shouldn't trust. This will be the last video for today, said it during a Nintendo Direct. Masahiro Sakurai saying, I don't know, before a Nintendo Direct. Toby Fox saying, I don't know, before a Nintendo Direct. And of course, you have Japanese Deltarune too. In Japanese, the Roaring Knight is Hoko no Kishi, and canon is Hodai, so here we have Hodai no Kishi, or the Canon Knight. It's a pun. It's always interesting when an Undertale or Deltarune track goes mainstream and gets so removed from their original context. In the past couple months, Deltone has become a really popular song on TikTok, and it's played over images that just aren't quite right, like a Mandela effect. And at the exact same time, there's a trending remix of Spamton's theme with these god-awful 808s. There's less of a specific trend associated with the sound, but it's generally used for absurd or goofy scenarios. So there's two large TikTok audios completely removed from Deltarune that both use Spamton songs well after Chapter 3 and 4's release. If anything, this is a testament to Deltarune's soundtrack being so evocative. Like, Dial Tone does sound like a song where something's a bit off, where perhaps something or someone is missing, and Spamton's theme is pretty goofy. The songs accomplish the same thing in their original context as they do in a lot of these TikToks, completely unknowingly. Okay, I just want to put this here because I mentioned this exact image popularizing the Ralsei Blunt image in my first Deltarune video a year ago, and my brain didn't even process this as Australian. I think I saw chuffed, which isn't commonly Aussie slang, and just assumed the image didn't have an Aussie origin. And I also thought dot was just a slang for cigarette in other countries as well, because in Australia we have at least 4 commonly used words for cigarette. And you see how in this list, dot is like the least Aussie sounding one? I'm not crazy, right? So that's the Australian contribution to the Deltarune community. That's it. That's the video. If you want more Deltarune content, I just dropped a theory and analysis video that should pop up here. The name actually makes sense. And over here or wherever is another video on my channel that YouTube has algorithmically decided is the best fit for you for some reason. I don't know how this works.